Hi everyone, I'm Carol. I just wanted to do a video today to talk about a comment that we hear all the time, and I know I've used it myself and I will probably use it again in the future, and that is that time heals all wounds. Now, the reason I want to talk about it today is because it's not time that heals all the wounds. It's how we spend the time in between the traumatic event and the point in our life where it no longer affects us and we are happy with who we are and we're confident and we're strong and we have the courage and we continue to move forward. Time itself does nothing. The only thing it does is it takes us further away from the trauma or the traumatic event that happened. It does nothing else. So sometimes people, and we hear it again, we hear people saying, oh, that happened years ago, they should be over it. You can't get over certain things. You have to go through them. And going through a traumatic event doesn't mean you have to go back to it and relive it. It means that we have to reconnect to the emotions that we had. Excuse me. Reconnect to the emotions that we had that came up at the time. We need to heal them and we need to release them. So it doesn't matter whether something's happened to you 20 years ago, 40 years ago, or 50 years ago, and you do nothing, you have no healing in between. The only thing that 50 years is going to do is give you a bigger space between what happened and where you are. You're still going to have triggers and buttons. You're still going to have those emotions that tie you back to what happened. There's still going to be the emotions that we aren't aware of that have an impact on our life today. We're not even going to know why we react a certain way to someone or why we respond, a particular way to something that we've heard or something that we've seen if we don't understand our emotions and we don't go through that process. So it isn't the time that heals all wounds. It's how we spend the time in between what's happened. And when we get to that point, as I said, of acceptance of what's happened, not having it bother us anymore. So are you going to just sit there and let the years go past and never start your healing process? Because although you might not think of things that's happened, they're still there. And one day something is going to bring it right back up again. And you're not going to know how to deal with it. So I would say use your time wisely. Go through the process of healing, and that's where our self-resilience comes from. The more we go through, the more we process things, the stronger we become. We build up our resilience. So what that does is it allows us, when we have future traumas, to be able to come back quicker and stronger. You'll find that people that don't actually process or don't go through the healing process, but they sort of shut that off and say, well, that's happened there. It was years ago. I can't do anything about it, so I'm just going to move on. They're not actually moving on. Yes, they're living and they're taking steps forward, but they haven't moved on from the trauma because they've never gone through the healing process. And it will always come up. It's the same as there's so many sayings that we have, but it's the same as the truth always comes out in the end. Well, where that ties into this and time is we know we have hurts, we know we have traumas, we know we have abuse, whether they're sexual, verbal, domestic violence. It makes no difference what they are. They all have an effect on our emotions and how we feel, and they can have a huge impact on our life if we don't process them. Now, for those that start the healing process, it's not a process that all of a sudden everything's fixed and life is all rainbows. Healing is a lifelong process. That doesn't mean that 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, we're working on our healing. It just means that every time another emotion comes up, we acknowledge it, we know where it comes from, we process it and we release it. And then we're free to keep moving forward. If we don't and we suppress things, eventually the truth will always come out. So someone might ask you something years down the track, and you might not have thought about the person that's hurt you or what they've done for years. I'm talking 50 years sometimes before these things come out. If you haven't started your healing process in that time, what's going to happen is you're not going to understand your emotions. You're not going to know where the hell they've come from. You certainly aren't going to know how to process them and how to heal them. But the biggest thing that it's going to do for you is it is going to put you right back to the traumatic event as if it's only just happened, because those emotions have been suppressed for so long and you've just gotten on with life. You haven't actually gotten on with your healing process. So please keep in mind that when we hear the saying, time heals all wounds, it's not the time, because time does nothing but separate us from what happened. It gives us a bigger gap. It's how you spend the time in between to understand yourself, to get to know yourself, to accept yourself, to love yourself, and to heal yourself. Thank you.